So we are working on a 2014 CX5, and we are replacing the exhaust manifold cap piece that you see here. So far I've only really removed these two heat shields, this O2 sensor, and I've undone all the bolts on top of it that are still in the car. But I can't get the shield off of it now, so I'm kind of looking to see it might need to be the engine might need to be rotated forward in order for it to come out. But looking at it from down here, you can see other bolts that need to be removed. So there's two bolts here, there's one up on the side right, so there's one on the side up over here. It faces in. Alright, so far not going so great. This side I ended up having to actually cut the nut off of it. You can see how boogered that up, which is okay because they're actually studs on it, so I'll just have to replace the nuts and everything will be alright because this side stays in the car. This is the one they pull them out. That side actually pulled the entire stud out when it came, which was great. But of course everything can't go great all the time, right? So now we just flipped around. Here's the rear engine mount. I'm going to knock it free. It's a 17 millimeter, and we'll rotate the engine forward. We'll get that popped out of there, that bolt that's holding the manifold on that side, and then we'll get this new one on. Here's where we're at. The old exhaust manifold is now out, and this was not easy. So the car is up, and you can see the subframe is actually separated. It is off the car. What I ended up finding was the service manual for these, and it says you got to remove the subframe, the rack, the exhaust, the prop shaft, so the drive shaft, the heat shields, and then it should just come right out. That is a lot more work than it sounds like. So we got the new one up in there. It's just resting there with the two bolts. So now it's just a reverse process. I didn't really film any of it, but if you're going to do this by yourself, make sure you have somewhere with enough clearance to hang all this down. So like, I just hung the exhaust down. It says to remove it. So there is a bolt here, 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 and then there's one up in this front, right there. So I just undid them and dropped it down far enough to finally be able to wiggle it out. It was still tight, but it worked. So now that's out, new one's in. I'm just gonna reverse process. I didn't film any of that and I apologize, but it is pretty straightforward once you do all that stuff. It takes quite a while, especially when you don't know what you're doing, trying to figure it out. If you're gonna do it, like I said, make sure you have plenty of room to do this. Get it high enough, because that was a lot of wiggle room to get that in and out in that tunnel through there. So I wish you the best of luck. There's not that much information out there about this because it is such a pain, probably, is my assumption at least. So I almost forgot to show when I was taking it apart, but I had a tow strap just hooked up here on this front subframe. It was wrapped up around back here, pulling the engine down to get that down far enough to get everything over it. You got to pull this engine and rotate it down far enough to be able to slide it out, and it's really tight when you do that.